What does that even mean, Bauer's Game Corner?
Ahoy there, YouTube! I'm back again today for another game review, another special Kickstarter review. And today I'm very excited to be checking out Recon Strategy from Bruce Crowder. This is for 2 to 4 players, ages 12 and up, and it'll take you about 45 minutes to play. And in Recon Strategy, you'll be taking control of either 1 or 2 squadrons of planes flying around the board trying to outmaneuver, outsmart, and crush your friends. Sound intriguing? Let's open it up and see how it plays. Alrighty then, we're going to take a look at what you're going to get inside of Recon Strategy. As I always like to mention with the Kickstarters, what you see in front of you may and very well could possibly change by the time it gets from here to you, the Kickstarter backer. So, another thing I really want to mention is that this board potentially might not be the one you get. They were possibly talking about using this nice blue board with the clouds in the background, or maybe even something different, but I know they are going to offer those as various different Kickstarter things, so keep an eyes open for that. So, first and foremost, we're going to take a look at our handy-dandy rule booklet. So, I actually have 3 right here. This is from 1983. This was the original rule booklet, which, as you can see, looks not too bad. This here is the 1988 absolutely just behemoth rule booklet that was used for tournament play, and it has literally every possible thing that could happen, which you can actually say is a good thing because this game has been play tested for 30 years. And then here, which is much, much smaller, is going to be the working copy of the rule booklet. Now you say there's a lot of writing on it. That's because he asked us, he literally said, and some other some other people have asked me to do this before, to just go through the rule booklet and say what exactly I like and what I don't like. And I love it when Kickstarter creators do that, because that means that they're not set in their ways, that they're really willing to take the input from somebody who reads a boatload of rule booklets and fix it and make it better. But overall, the rule booklet, even with all the additions that I said maybe should or shouldn't be put in there, is easy, quick to figure out, and you will be able to get on the ground running and play the game, because at its core, the game is not too difficult. So, Recon Strategy, what are you going to be doing? You're going to be taking control of squadrons of planes. As you can see on the board, there are 4 different squadrons of planes. You got your red, black, green, and blue. And you're going to be taking these guys and trying to kill your opponents on the other side of the board. So blue and green are going up against black and red, and vice versa. So let's go over all the different things you're going to get. First and foremost, you'll notice you have some really cool little model planes. They look very neat. They have a little hole in the back, which is where you're going to stick these little pegs. And we'll get more into the pegs and what they mean later, but those are the planes. You're also going to get the Recon. What is a Recon? I don't know. I'm not a big plane buff, but this is the Recon. It's very generic, but it actually doesn't really bug me at all, because I get the impression that a Recon is supposed to be sneaky or something, so this is very nondescript and discreet. But those are going to be the planes you're going to get. Everybody's going to get 4 of them, 3 of those, and a Recon. Next, you're going to have these yellow tiles, which are either going to have an H or a M on them. And you're going to get 4 of each. You're going to set them around your base like so, face down. And those represent bombs or mines on the airfield or whatever. And if an opponent's plane hits one of these, flips it over, and it's a miss, well, then good for them. They're not going to get destroyed. But if it is a hit and they land over it, then boom! Their plane is going to be gone and out of the game. And since you might potentially only be controlling 4 planes, that's a big deal when one of your planes gets destroyed. Next, you're going to get your cards. Now, this is something I haven't really seen in too many games, but you're going to have your deck of cards, but your opponent is actually going to be controlling your deck of cards. And I asked Bruce, why exactly do you do that? And apparently it's to avoid cheating, because this game is built from the ground up to be for kind of like a tournament play, even though it is kind of a family game. It hits on a lot of different aspects, but we'll get into that later. But there's going to be, I believe, 4 different kinds of cards. First, you're going to have burst cards. They're going to have these little missiles on it. They go from 1 to 5, and these are what you're going to need if you're going to shoot at someone's plane. Next one are going to be these 2. These are defensive ones. These are going to save you if someone's shooting at your plane. If someone is trying to shoot you from the back, well, this one will let you do a loop on them. So say somebody comes up behind you and tries to shoot you, you say, no, I got a loop. You do the loop, and now the tide's turned, because you now have the option to possibly shoot on them. But you always have to be wary, because they might also have a loop card as well. But there's not too many of them in the deck, so it's kind of one of those risk-reward things. Have I seen him play a loop card? I don't know. You always got to be thinking about that. The next one, as you could probably guess, is all about defending from your side. So if this green guy came up on the black guy and tried to shoot him, well, then he could play this and he would miss, and that would be the end of the green guy's turn. The last one is the wild card. This is a very, very good card. You always want to have this as an ace in your pocket, because if you have this a card, essentially it means you're not going to die for at least one turn, because it has 6 bursts on it. Now you may have remembered I said they only go up to 5 unless you have the wild card, and you only have 1 in your entire deck, so you want to make sure you use it wisely. So it can either do a 6 burst, it can do the loop-to-loop or the barrel roll or whatever it's called. So essentially it's good for defense and for offense. So we got the cards, we got the planes. Also, you might not be able to see it too well, but there's a yellow line in the middle of the board. This is a very important line, because in this game you are only going to start with 4 cards in your hand. And if you have bad cards, well, then you're going to want to get rid of them and get rid of new cards. And also, if you use a card, you don't get it back. It goes back over here, face down, and then you only have 3 cards. Then you might only have 2 cards. So you definitely want to make sure that you are getting more cards in your hand. How you do that is by taking your plane across this yellow line. If you can get it across the yellow line, you put the little token in there. And if you can successfully get it back to your base, then you'll be able to draw a certain amount of cards up. Now that's one thing about this game, which I'll get into a little bit later, is your hand size, while it starts at 4, hopefully will be growing, because you'll be getting these bad boys. These are what's called ace markers or ace tokens. I'm not quite sure what they're going to be called in the final game. But if you destroy one of your opponent's planes, then you will get one of these, and you'll go bloop. And these are very, very good. And if you can successfully get your plane and, well, that one back to your base, you're going to set it right on over here, and now your hand size is going to go from 4 to 6, or from 6 to 8. So getting these is incredibly valuable. Also, if you can successfully return it back to your base, you get to draw new cards, so you're just ready to go back out with more cards, and you're going to become a scary, scary beast. Now, I mentioned the Recons right here. They're very nondescript. And these are special planes. All the fighters are the same. They do the same things. However, the Recons are really unique and interesting in this game because in one aspect, they are very expendable. But at the other aspect, they're extremely important. What these guys can do is they can't shoot planes in the air. So if I came up on this guy, I could not shoot him. They can only shoot grounded planes. And grounded planes means that you are in your base over here. So if they can get over here, they can go boo boo and instantly destroy one, which is great. Now, you're saying, but what if they hit the mines? Well, the great thing about being in a recon is even if you do get on a hit, you still are not destroyed. But if you go over 2 hits in 1 round, well, then you get destroyed. But I also think if you go over 2 hits in 1 round with one of these, then you're probably playing like a little bit of a dummy. So, the next thing we have are our dice, and we'll go over that, and then I think we'll get into the game, because I think we've showed everything pretty much. But you're going to have 4 different colored dice. Obviously, the red and the black guy are going to have the red and the black dice, and the blue and green are going to have blue and green. Almost forgot one more thing on the board. You may notice these little checkers right here. These are what's called the speed zones. You're going to be able to use these to go, well, I want to go fast. Essentially, if it is your speed zone, so blue or green can use these ones, they can then go diagonal, because normally you can only go left or right, forward or backwards. However, with these, you can go diagonal and make up some time. Also, the Recons, they have a cool ability, because they can use their own speed zones, but they can also use their opponent's speed zones for getting out or getting in very quickly. So let's go ahead and play a quick mock hand so you can see exactly how the game is played. So as I mentioned, you're going to start with 4 cards, and we'll just pretend to get 4 cards, blah, 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 blah. And you're going to roll the dice to see who goes first. How this is, you take your 2 colors, roll them up, whoops, and whoever has the highest number is going to go first, and they instantly start by moving their pieces. So essentially, I have 4 on green and 4 on blue. That means I can move one of my green planes 4 and one of my blue planes 4, and I have to do that. I have to move one of them, and I have to move them exactly 4 spaces. You can't do any less. So for this guy, I'll say, what do we want to do with our blue? We're going to get our Recon out on blue. We're going to see if we can destroy some of these grounded planes. So we go 1, 2, 3, 4, and he's going to stop right there. And he can go diagonal because he's got the speed path. Green guy, he's a little bit bloodthirsty. He's going to come out going 1, 2, 3, 4. He's going to just run straight at the opponent, and that's the turn. That's my turn. It's a very quick-paced kind of game. So now, red and black are going to come back. They're going to roll the dice, and we got a 4 and a 3. So black's going to go out. Let's say, you know what? We'll get our recon up. We'll go 1, 2, 3. Red will come out, and they'll go 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, one thing that really hasn't mattered so much in the first round, but will matter a lot once you get deeper into your opponent's territory or they get deeper into yours, is how you position your plane. And how this works is, we'll just do this real quick. So we got a 6 and we got a 5. Wow, blue and green are rolling well. So green's going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now they have a choice. If they go right here, they can destroy a plane. They can pretty much be guaranteed to destroy a plane, which would be huge this early in the game. But that's a really gutsy decision because there is a 50-50 shot that this is going to be a hit. And if it is a hit, well then guess what? They would have lost their plane. But instead he'd probably go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I don't know where he'd go because we're just trying to get you. I'm not going to go into the strategy too much. We're just trying to show you how the gameplay goes. So he might say, you know what, my card stinks, so I'm going to try and get back. So he'd go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. He'd position himself like that. And then his turn would be over. We go over to the blue. But once you've moved your spaces, you have to decide which direction you are going to be facing. Now, this is where somewhat of the bluffing element in the game comes into play because you're going to have those cards that are going to block either your back or your side. So you might want to make them think that you have a card for your side, or you might want to make them think you have a card for the back, or you might just be doing stuff all crazy just trying to be a wild card. You never know. But anywho, people are going to be going all around the board, trying to shoot each other, destroy each other, and eventually destroy your entire opponent's fleet. And if you can destroy your entire opponent's fleet, then you will be the winner of Recon Strategy. One last thing I forgot to mention is, if all of your fighters are gone and all you have left is your recon, well then your recon's sad and they kill themselves as well. And then you're down to only playing with one side and you only roll one dice and you're at a huge disadvantage. But I kind of like that because it makes it a lot more exciting. But anywho, that in a real loose nutshell is how Recon Strategy is played. Alrighty then, Recon Strategy from Bruce Crowder. What are my final thoughts? Let's go over the pros, let's go over the cons. First, on the con side, the game is not going to be for everybody for a variety of different reasons. First and foremost, the game is extremely confrontational in a 2-player game. Somewhat so in a 3- and 4-player game, but not nearly as much. Because in a 2-player game, it's just you and someone else just flying around trying to outsmart and kill each other, which is obviously not going to be everyone's cup of tea. So if you're not into that, you might not be into the 2-player version of the game. The next con that some people are going to poo-poo on really hardcore is that it is a roll and move mechanic. Now, when I saw that it was roll and move mechanic, I was like, I don't know about this. But I actually found out that I actually kind of liked it like that, because you are going to be controlling a lot of different things. Now, especially if you're in a 2-player game where you're going to be controlling 8 different planes, you're going to have a lot of different decisions to make based on what you're trying to do each round. Are you trying to go kill planes? Are you trying to get your recon over there to try and see what's underneath different mines? Or are you just trying to get halfway across the board so you can come back and get more cards because your card stinks? You're going to have a lot of different choices. So despite the fact that it is roll and move, it didn't really bug me too much. The last con I really had was that the artwork it's pretty much non-existent. Now, as I always like to mention, I mentioned earlier, this was the promotional prototype and copy that I got. So it may change from the time that it gets from me to the time it gets into your hands. But for my personal taste, I thought it was just a little bit too generic, and I would have liked to maybe see like a map layout, or I don't know, just a little bit more spruced up. Moving on to the pros, though. First, I gotta say, the story behind this game is really fascinating. Bruce came out to me, he showed me how to play the game, he told me all about it, told me the backstory, and it was a really fascinating story. I mean, the game was going to get made in the 1980s, and he had all these people lined up to fund it and whatnot, and then the company went bankrupt, and it just kind of went dormant, and he moved on with his life. But at the same time, the game would not die. It had this cult following going out in California, where people would get together and play tournaments and all sorts of different stuff. And now that Kickstarter's here, and I don't want to get on my soapbox about Kickstarter, but I love Kickstarter for this exact reason, he now has that chance to realize this dream and get this game out to the people, which is really cool. But the story behind the game was really fascinating. But the bottom line was, I was like, 1980s. This game was made in the 1980s. I don't know about that because, I mean, if you look at the games behind me, there's not too many that came out in the 80s and earlier. So I was nervous about that. But rest assured, I was pleasantly surprised by Recon Strategy. I really enjoyed the game, and everybody I played with really enjoyed the game. Why did I enjoy it so much? The game really hits on a lot of different cylinders. I mean, it is clicking all over the place. First, I mentioned in the cons the head-to-head nature of this game. If that's not your cup of tea, it's not your cup of tea. But for me, I love that. I love the, I'm going to crush you, I'm going to outsmart you, I'm going to bluff you, I'm going to turn my play in this way, so you're going to attack me from the side because you think I have this card, but then I'm like, oh, I actually got this card. I like how there's a little bit of bluffing and deduction in there. You're like, all right, he's got 2 cards, he used this card earlier, so I don't think he's got another one, so I'm going to attack him from here. There's a lot of that subtle stuff. The more you play the game, the more you realize that there is actually a ton of strategy in this game. Where you're going, what you're doing, which pieces you're moving, which cards you're holding on to. Everything you do can and most likely will have some impact on the game, which I really did like. Now, I mentioned that the 3 and 4 player game is a lot less, I don't want to say competitive because it is still just trying to kill each other, but I really like the 3 and 4 player game. My wife is not the biggest fan of head-to-head, crush the other person kind of games, and she agreed that she liked it better at 3 or 4 because when you're playing with 3 or 4 players, then that means it's either going to be 2-on-1 or 2-on-2. Now, it's not unbalanced though because you're going to have your plane, you're going to have 4 different colors of planes, and if you have a 3-player game, then there's going to be 2 people over here, 1 person over there, and each person's going to have their own squadron of plane. They have to work together to try and outsmart, outmaneuver them. And if you got a 4-player game, then you're going to have, obviously, 4 people playing. But I like that cooperative aspect, and I think a lot of people are as well. This is one thing I really like in games, is when you can have like a lesser player. Like, let's say you're just teaching your kid this game, and he's not really good. Because you know what, sometimes kids stink at games. Then you can pair him up with dad, who might be really good at this game, or mom, who might be really good at this game, and then they can team up and try to win the game together. I really like that aspect of the game. And to me, that really was one of the main selling points, is that it is so competitive and it also is cooperative at the same time. Another thing I really like is this game is built for tournament play. It really is. It's quick, like I said, as you saw in the video, you're taking one action, you're rolling dice, and then you're moving, and then your turn is over. It's a very quick, fast-paced game, and once you know how to play, you can probably get a game knocked out in 30 minutes, which is always a good selling point. The last pro I got for the game is that the plane models are really kind of cool. In between games, you'll find yourself going, woo, woo. Even though the Recon is somewhat, meh, but I don't even know what a Recon is, to be honest with you. But the little plane models are definitely very cool. Overall, Recon Strategy from Bruce Crowder is definitely a game you need to check out. Check out the Kickstarter link below because I will have it posted as soon as the Kickstarter gets launched. And I think it's definitely worth a check out. Thumbs up from me. That was Bruce Crowder's Recon Strategy. If you enjoyed this review, please be sure to subscribe to my channel. Thanks for your time, YouTube. That was the review for Recon Strategy. For more reviews and previews, check back at Bauer's Game Corner.